Today's episode of Behind the Numbers is brought to you by B. Riley Financial. B. Riley Financial's diverse suite of services goes beyond traditional financial service offerings. By leveraging cross-platform expertise and assets, B. Riley Financial companies are uniquely positioned to provide full-service collaborative solutions to our clients at every stage of the business lifecycle and in all market conditions. B. Riley refers to B. Riley Financial Incorporated and/or one or more of its subsidiaries or affiliates.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Behind the Numbers. My name is Dave Bookbinder, and welcome to the show where we dig deeper to understand what matters most in business. I'm a managing director at B. Riley Financial Advisory Services, and I'm also the author of the new ROI, Return on Individuals. Welcome to the show, and today I'm pleased to welcome a guest who is the Chief Financial Officer of a microcap company. Pleased to welcome Mike Kandell, Chief Financial Officer at Wireless Telecom Group. Mike, welcome to Behind the Numbers.
Morning, Dave. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, Mike. Great to have you here. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about who you are, and then we'll jump in.
Yeah, sure. I'm CEO of Wireless Telecom Group. We're a microcap company with headquarters in Parsippany, New Jersey, and locations in Boulder, Colorado, Loughborough, UK, and Duisburg, Germany. We have about 125 employees. And, we design and manufacture wireless telecommunications, test equipment, software and hardware solutions for use in the satellite and semiconductor, military defense, aerospace industries.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. I want to start our conversation, Mike, by talking about your journey to the role of the CFO. Share with the audience, if you would, please, how you got to that position, please.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a CPA. I started my career in public accounting at Ernst & Young. Was there for about 7 years and worked in on a variety of clients and in a number of different industries. Left there and bounced around a little bit, but landed at Avaya, which was is an enterprise telephony company. At the time, we're about $5 billion in size, had about 10,000 employees, and I worked in the controllers organization. So I spent all of my 9 years there doing, accounting policy, SEC reporting, rev rec consolidations, pretty much anything in controllers. I did it there. And then in 2016, I reconnected with a former Ernst & Young colleague, Tim Whalen, who had just become CEO of Wireless Telecom Group. And he was, looking to change the culture there and was making some changes on the management team. And he needed a new chief financial officer. And I viewed it as an opportunity to get out of my comfort zone, expand my skill set and really see different parts of a business and a public company.
Yeah, that really resonates with me when you talk about getting out of your comfort zone to try and experience new and exciting things. So a little bit scary, but also exciting at the same time. So you went from Avaya, which is a large company, to now what's referred to as a micro-cap company, one of the smaller capitalization companies in a publicly traded sense. What's it like being a part of a micro-cap? What are some of the nuances, if you could share?
Yeah, sure. We're very entrepreneurial, and that spans across, all levels in the company. And moreover, you can't be afraid to roll up your sleeves and get into the details of just about everything, which is what I like. I'm a very detail-oriented person, so I really liked being able to jump into the details and be entrepreneurial, and plus at a smaller size company you can really feel like you're making a meaningful impact immediately. Of course at my level you feel that way, but even at the lower levels our people feel like they're having an impact on the direction of the company.
Yeah, and that's a great, as you said, culture change to bring to an environment. So when you talk about being entrepreneurial, a lot of times that's a euphemism for I wear a lot of different hats. What other functions are you responsible for, Mike, besides that of
Yeah.
the financial function?
Yeah, so I had to jump out of being strictly controllers oriented, accounting based into everything, not only finance related, which was FP&A, decision support, investor relations, treasury, but I also took on IT and HR, which was a big shift and challenge for me. Obviously, at a larger company, we had departments and teams of people focused on HR and IT, and I had to jump into owning that function. So that was a huge challenge for me. It still continues to be a challenge. I would say some of those areas are still a work in process for me. I feel like I'm jack of all trades and master of none. But one of the key things was putting the right people in place underneath me, especially in those areas, because my strength was in controllers, was in the close, was in the SEC reporting, and I needed to make sure that I had strong people in those other areas to help me along through my journey.
Yep. Mike, when you talk about IT, I know one of the big challenges that everyone's facing today is cybersecurity risk.
Yeah.
Is that an area that you're focusing on as well?
Yeah, 100%. So we sell into the U.S. government, military, defense subcontractors. So we are subject to some pretty rigorous cybersecurity requirements, and they're getting more and more. There's a new thing called CMMC, which we have to be compliant with. We're constantly looking at all of our controls around IT and cybersecurity. So it is a huge area. We put a lot of focus into it. You could spend all of your time and pretty much, I think, all of the company's money just on, shoring up your cybersecurity, which is a big challenge. We have an IT team of 4 at Wireless Telecom Group. So we really have to focus on where we think the big risks are. And there's 2 areas that we have really focused in on. One is end user awareness and training for all of our people. When you read through all of the headlines of companies that have been exposed, typically it's employees that are clicking on something, a phishing email or a link that they shouldn't have. So we spend a lot of time and effort in training all of our employees to be aware of phishing emails, to be aware of scams. We mark all of our emails with an external tag so they know 100% that it's coming from an external source. And we also do fake phishing campaigns where we try and trick our employees into clicking on links that they shouldn't. And the second area is in patches. You have to make sure that you're up to date with all of your security patches across your IT architecture. So we've spent a lot of time in developing a process around shoring up our laptops and our systems to make sure that our patches are up to date.
Yeah, Mike, for folks who are watching and listening and want to learn more about you, what's the best way for them to find you or connect with you?
So probably LinkedIn, my LinkedIn profile. You could also go to wirelesstelecomgroup.com. I have a little bio there, but LinkedIn is probably the best spot.
Sounds good. Mike, we're coming up to the commercial break here, so we only have just about a minute or 2, but I wanted to sneak in one more question here, and that is, as a CFO, you're responsible for forecasting, and you've got to have a pretty good-looking crystal ball. Talk about that experience for those who are watching and listening and maybe have aspirations to moving into the role of the CFO.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge, and I would say you have to use the 80-20 rule in forecasting. You cannot get bogged down with. I mean, we do a line by line trial balance forecast every quarter at Wireless Telecom Group, but I have found that you really have to focus on the 20% of the P&L line items that are going to get you 80% of the end result. and focus on being as exact and detailed as you can with those specific areas. Obviously, it all starts with the top line, and I spend a lot of time with our sales guys on where we think the top line is going to come out. That's a key one. But across the trial balance, you have to focus on what your key areas of focus are, where you're going to get 80% of the result.
That's great advice. Mike, we're going to have to take a quick break here. You don't go anywhere, and for you watching and listening, you don't go anywhere either. We'll be right back on Behind the Numbers after we pay a few bills here. There's an old expression in business that you can't manage what you can't measure. Business performance and business valuation, it's all measured by the numbers. But I've learned that the real lessons and the tough decisions that are made occur behind the numbers. My name is Dave Bookbinder. Join me and my guests as we go behind the numbers to understand what really matters most in business.
Today's episode of Behind the Numbers is brought to you by B. Riley Financial. B. Riley Financial's diverse suite of services goes beyond traditional financial service offerings. By leveraging cross-platform expertise and assets, B. Riley Financial companies are uniquely positioned to provide full-service collaborative solutions to our clients at every stage of the business lifecycle and in all market conditions. B. Riley refers to B. Riley Financial Incorporated and/or one or more of its subsidiaries or affiliates.
And welcome back to Behind the Numbers. I'm Dave Bookbinder, and today we're talking with Mike Kandell, who's the Chief Financial Officer at Wireless Telecom Group. Mike, welcome back to the second segment here on Behind the Numbers. I want to start out by mentioning that this episode sponsored by B. Riley, and I believe you've been a B. Riley client for some time. Would you mind sharing what your experience has been in working with B. Riley?
Yeah, sure. So we've partnered with B. Riley over the last. I've been with Wireless Telecom Group for 5.5 years. They've been a partner for the last 5.5 years in a variety of areas. You know, we've done a couple of acquisitions and a debt raise and used their investment banking services. In the middle of last year, we also did at the market secondary offering. They assisted with that. Most recently, we instituted a 10b5 stock repurchase plan, and their teams over there have helped us with that. So we've had a great partnership with B. Riley over the last 5.5 years.
Yeah, it's great to hear, and thank you so much for sharing that. So you mentioned acquisitions. And that's the sexy area of what you do, right? And I use that term in air quotes, sexy, because there's a lot of work involved. They don't all happen, and even the ones that do don't always work out. You've been through the process. What's been your experience in acquisitions, Mike?
Yeah. So when I joined, the mandate was to grow the company, and that was through two avenues: organic growth, and then growth through acquisitions. And in the last 5.5 years, we've done 2 acquisitions, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in closing 2 acquisitions, we've actually looked at, I would say, close to 30 or possibly more potential acquisitions, and it's a challenge. M&A is definitely a challenge. At Wireless Telecom Group, we have a pretty robust process that we go through that was largely developed by our CEO, Tim Whalen. We have a 9-step process that we go through from beginning to end to close a deal. It starts with a very initial, what we call a desk review, where we're looking at potential targets and whether they're the right strategic fit, and it progresses all the way through, valuation to do, non-binding letter of intent to due diligence. All the while engaging, the board and keeping them up to date, as well as, we formed an M&A subcommittee of the board to assist the management team with the process. And it's all about making sure that it's the right fit, the right valuation, and about returning value to or increasing shareholder value. Probably one of the biggest challenges is that you have to do this and do your day job at the same time. These strategic initiatives can be a major distraction from the day-to-day running of the business. And that's where, having the right people in the right seats comes in. I found when I'm, distracted with something like an acquisition, I'm putting more on my people in terms of the day-to-day. So you need to make sure you have the right people underneath you to handle that stuff while you're working on these projects.
Yeah, and I think you probably just hit the nail on the head because, as I often share with the audience, depending on where you get your data, anywhere between 75 and 90% of M&A deals don't live up to their forecasted synergies. And usually it's because of the people integration process. So if you don't mind, maybe you can spend just a moment or two talking about what you've done to focus on that part of your acquisition integrations.
Yeah, sure. So our acquisitions to date have been, smaller tuck-in acquisitions where, typically private companies, and we keep the management team engaged through primarily two areas. One is one component of the purchase price is typically, our stock. So they're tied to the long-term growth of the consolidated company. And we also typically structure the purchase price with some earnout element, where if they achieve a certain revenue or EBITDA target, it results in additional purchase price for them. So that's a way of keeping, the management team or the founders engaged longer term. In terms of the other employees, it really comes down to culture and the right culture fit. And that's part of this whole 9-step process. As we're going along, our due diligence, we're meeting with the management team or the founders and ensuring, that they understand the wireless telecom culture and we understand their culture and how we're going to make the two fit together. It's a challenging part of M&A. Just like HR is a challenging part of my job. You're dealing with people and emotions and things like that. And there's always anxiety whenever a company is being purchased. But it comes down to ensuring we understand the culture. We're transparent about our culture, and we're doing frequent communications with the target or with the acquisition once it's closed, so that they understand what our plans are, what our culture is, and how they're going to fit.
Yeah, good stuff there, Mike. For folks who want to learn more about you, Mike, what's the best way for them to reach out and connect with you?
I'm on LinkedIn, so LinkedIn would be the best way to reach out to me.
Okay, keep it simple. Find Michael Kandell on LinkedIn, gang. Mike, I want to talk to you about the other side, divestitures, and I believe you've been involved in that aspect as well. What's the key difference there as you're talking about that type of strategic initiative?
Yeah, so we divested a business in March of this year, and it was a strategic decision because it was a business. Although it was a great business, it was our RF conditioning business. It was lower margin and had a lower potential growth profile than our other businesses, and we had debt on the balance sheet. So we made the decision that we should divest that business and shore up the balance sheet and put some cash on the balance sheet to invest in our higher margin, higher growth businesses. Not unlike acquisitions, it's kind of the same step-by-step process that you have to go through with the board, with the M&A subcommittee, and with the management team that was going to the new company. Again, you're dealing with people and anxiety and a lot of uncertainty. And it was about ensuring that they understood the rationale for the transaction and where they were going. And in our case, it was absolutely the right fit. What we divested was the right fit for the potential purchaser. And we were able to talk to the management team that was going early about that. But really it is again a step-by-step process of talking about strategically why we're doing it, what's the valuation, does the valuation make sense, getting through those gates of due diligence, and and how we're going to actually break apart the business.
Yeah. Mike, I want to get to, we'll call it the tips and tricks and advice part of the program, if you will. And whether you're talking to your younger self, as some people like to say, or you're talking to somebody who's just starting out in the CFO ranks, what are some of the things that you might whisper in their ear that you've learned that would be good advice for them to consider going forward?
So I would say, in managing people and leadership, you need to empower your people. Employees feel most fulfilled and engaged at work when they're empowered, empowered to make decisions, empowered to have their voice heard. But at the same time, knowing that you as your leader have their back, and that every decision this group makes ultimately falls on me as the leader. But hearing every employee's opinions, voices, etc., in the direction of the group or a particular problem. I've tried to adapt to, when we have a problem, just listening to what my employees and staff think is the right solution. And it's my job to
ultimately
guide the ship in the right direction. But you've got to empower your employees to make decisions. That's what's gonna fulfill them, and you'll get more out of them if you do that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's what I write about and talk about quite a bit. So, and for the record, for everybody who's watching, I did not put Mike up to that. That's an honest response on his part. So you've alluded to leadership, Mike, and I think in some of the things you just shared about how you're treating your people speaks to leadership. But what other aspects of leadership, as you might define it, would you also like to share?
Yeah, I think, again, empowering your employees is number one. But also, being honest with them. I think I said before, finding the right team is key. And if you have someone who's not performing, you need to be open and honest with them through a performance review process. And you really can't wait for the annual or semi-annual review process to give feedback. If someone's not performing, you need to put them on an improvement plan immediately, because if you're not honest with them, then things for the whole team are not going to improve. So I would say continuous feedback is just as important as empowering your employees.
Yeah, 100% on that. Mike, are there any particular issues that are keeping you awake at night?
Well, we're not like any other company right now where we're dealing with supply chain issues. The job market is tough right now, especially in our business, where the majority of our employees are highly technical, highly skilled electrical and software engineers. That's a tough market to be recruiting in right now. And then just the general economy, inflation, talks of a recession. These are things that we talk about at our executive leadership team meetings on a weekly basis.
Yeah, so you alluded to there, when we talk about talent, many folks who've been on the show in the past year or so have talked about how the Great Resignation has impacted them both in terms of turnover and recruitment. Anything more granular that you've experienced with regard to turnover and recruitment, Mike?
Yeah, I would say we're feeling that that as well, and we've had to kind of expand outside of our our normal comfort zone in terms of how we do recruiting. We're out going directly to colleges, community colleges. We're talking with retained headhunters about what can we do to fill open positions. So it's just really part of an evolving process of challenging how you've done things historically, and looking if there's things that you could do differently to recruit.
Yeah. How about in terms of communication with folks as we're in this remote employee environment? Has that been a challenge for your team?
We've adopted a hybrid methodology for people that can work from home. One of the things, though, that we've just recently shifted to is we are now requiring folks to be in the office 2 specific days of the week, so that everybody is in the office 2 days of the week. You know that everybody's going to be there at the same time. Although the work from home and the remote work has we've managed to get all our work done without any major issues. We feel that getting people back into the office in a more collaborative environment is something that's been missing. So although we're still allowing flexibility to work from home, we are having the entire office come back 2 days a week so that we can get more of that collaborative feel to things.
Yeah.
At Wireless Telecom Group, we had folks. We have a production facility in Parsippany and Boulder, and those production folks, never worked from home. They had to stay in the office or in the production facility since the beginning of the pandemic. During the pandemic, we had to put in place certain measures, social distancing, masking, etc. But they've been coming to the office throughout. That was a big thing that we had to navigate throughout the whole entire pandemic.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I talked to a lot of business leaders, and what you just shared seems to be a common theme where the return to office plan is a part-time thing, but I like what you're doing and having everyone in at the same time, so you've got the ability to collaborate, and you're not wondering if some of your colleagues are going to be in on that particular day because there's more flexibility. So congratulations on that. And on that note, Mike, unfortunately, we're out of time here, but I want to thank you so much for joining us today on Behind the Numbers.
Thanks, Dave. I enjoyed it. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. We've been talking with Mike Kandell, who's the Chief Financial Officer at Wireless Telecom Group. And thank you for watching and listening. We can't do the show without you. Big shout out to today's sponsor, B. Riley. Please do check out their website at brileyfin.com. Lots of good things out there for you to check out and explore. That's really all we have here for today, folks. Please do hit the subscribe button on wherever you're watching and listening so you can stay in touch with all that we are up to. Again, my name is Dave Bookbinder, and I will see you next time on Behind the Numbers. Take care.